Yes, it's me, Robert Phoenix, and I'm back once again for the Astro Weather. And of course, I'm being joined by the Astro Weather cat herself, Miss Peaches. There she is. And she's always here at the beginning of the day because she has her rituals. Rituals are so important in life, don't you think? Even minor ones like getting up and brushing your teeth can be a very important ritual to your day. Just ask Dr. Joan S. in the chat how important that is. And especially if you are a boy or a girl somehow watching this video, don't forget to brush your teeth. It's an important ritual. Anyway, how is everybody? Everybody doing well? Let's see. Let's go through the chat. Let's do a little meet and greet. All right. We got DJ MC in the house, or at least he was at 11:57 last night. Esperanza. Vince Taro. Debisu, early birds. There you go. At 3:23 a.m. That is early. The new next pod, Mythical Seahawk overlooking the Patriot prey en route to another Super Bowl win. I have to just remind you that is an eagle, not to denigrate hawks, who are a fine species of bird. But that is an eagle, which is a symbol of Aquarius, hence the eagle. I was listening to one of my sports talk podcasts, which no doubt bring my IQ down a few points. Although the guys that do this podcast are pretty sharp, I have to admit. And one of them is really sharp. And they got into a heated debate about who is going to win the Super Bowl on Sunday, a game I have no vested interest in whatsoever from any particular angle. And the host of the show vehemently argued for the Patriots, even though they lived in the Bay Area, right? So arguing for the Patriots. The other host vehemently arguing for the Seahawks. And the guy who was rooting for the Patriots or saying that the Patriots have more than a puncher's chance decided that he was going to put a bet on the table. A bold move. And the other guy agreed to the bet. Now, if you ever watch like this stuff happen in real time, these guys talk really tough, but rarely do they make wagers against each other live. It's rare. And it's because they don't want to lose face. They don't want to lose. And so I'm like, oh, they're gonna bet some money here. They're gonna make their little disagreement real, right? So the one guy who is his name is Larry Kruger, who's a Bay Area sports talk legend. Anyway, I can get into Larry, but I won't. Larry's a Capricorn. And he fucking grinds. He's got a grand Earth trine with Taurus and he got Pluto and Virgo, Sun in Capricorn. He's got some shit in Taurus. Like all he does is work, right? And he's successful. He's good at what he does because he just works his ass off. But he's betting $100 on the Patriots. And the guy that he's betting against is this guy, Dieter Kurtenbach. Dieter's probably got an IQ of about 160. Dieter's really fucking smart. Really smart. And not only is he like, there are people that are smart, but they're kind of like on the spectrum and they can't always communicate what, their intelligence, or they do it in a different kind of way. Dieter is articulate and smart. So he's a dual threat, as they say in the NFL. He can pass and run the ball. Anyway, they agree on $100. And then about 30 seconds into Mort Dieter hitting Larry with these truth bullets about the Super Bowl, Larry changes the bet and says, let's make it 50. My missus, this is what guys do. My missus will, she'll freak out. My missus will freak out. My missus will have a fit. This is something like that, right? So they reduced the bet to $50. And Larry is cheap. I used that one time. I used that one time a long time ago. I was selling this RV. It was one of these. What do you call it? It's not. It wasn't a pop up like a Coleman, but it had hydraulics and it would lift up, and it would collapse when you drove it. I never really used it. My parents gave it to me. I decided to sell it, and I'm going to be in typology mode here, so I apologize if I offend anybody. But these two Mexican guys came over, and Mexicans when they like they're always looking for fucking deals. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry, but it's true. If you have something for sale, I guarantee you one of the first two people that show up will be Mexican. If you're living in Texas or California, that's who's coming to your door. Right, because they're very good at finding bargains and deals. They're, as far as negotiators go, they're way more adept than you think, right? So these guys come over and they want to buy it, right? And they start to hustle me on it, and they say, "Well, we've got X amount right here in cash right now." I didn't want to take their fucking cash. First of all, it wasn't enough. And second of all, I felt like I was being hustled. So I used the missus thing. And I went into the house and I pretended to call my, at that time, wife on the phone. And I just, it was like I don't know, like a Seinfeld, not a Seinfeld, but like a Larry David episode or something like that. And I came out, I said, no, I just talked to her. She said, that's not enough money. We need more. And then they were like, well, this is all we brought. I'm like, well, that's not going to work. I guess you guys can't buy it. They were not happy. They weren't happy. I, on the other hand, was happy because I didn't want to sell it to them. Now, was it the most manly thing to do in that moment? Probably not. But when you have the misses option, sometimes it's like code red, right? It was like code red, and you go to the misses option, and I'm glad I did because I sold to somebody I felt much better about. Not that I'm prejudiced. If they would have come in and been, remotely respectful and fair, I probably would have sold it to them. But I felt like I was being hustled. And then they started to get kind of surly. Oh, yeah, the surly part. It's like, fuck you, we'll shoot you, we'll take your goddamn trailer. And all of a sudden I feel like I'm in a, scene from a Guy Ritchie movie. Anyway, bringing this back to the Super Bowl, do not underestimate the value of Bob Kraft and the New England Patriots as it relates to the NFL, Donald Trump, the very aggressive, pro-Jewish, anti-hate commercial campaign, which you will be subjected to during this Super Bowl. Guarantee you'll see at least one commercial, probably more. And do you know who's fitting the bill for those commercials? Bob Kraft, the owner of the Patriots. Bob Kraft, this Thursday, we may find that Bob Kraft is going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame after he was snubbed his first go-round, just like Bill Belichick was snubbed his first go-round. So Bob Kraft more than likely will on Thursday be announced in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, rolling into the Super Bowl with the momentum of accolade. And if he doesn't make it, well, like rest assured, that's a clear sign that the New England Patriots are going to win. It's a payback for Bob Kraft not getting in. Along the Super Bowl lines, I do think you have to take into account that we are about to go to war with Iran. I'm going to talk about this on 15 Minutes of Flame. We're on the verge. We got ships there, lots of ships, and Bibi Netanyahu is essentially doing everything he can to force Donald Trump into a first strike against Iran and go further, deeper, harder than he had before. You can take that any way you want. And it sounds eerily familiar, doesn't it? I mean, if you go back and look at the first time that the Patriots won the Super Bowl, it was right on the heels of 9/11. And it started the regime change wars, which were about to take place and go on for, well over a decade, right? And the idea was that we had the Patriot Act, which had just passed. We had the Patriots. We had Tom Brady, Captain America. I mean, these were all symbolic. They were symbolic depictions of where America was at that time. They were selling overseas aggression and regime change. And how many times did the fucking Patriots get to the Super Bowl during that time? A lot. And they got there with a lot of help, particularly that first Super Bowl when they wound up playing the Los Angeles Rams. And there was the old tuck rule when it looked like the Raiders were going to beat the Seahawks the Patriots in New England. And Tom Brady fumbled the ball, and they came up with a brand new rule right on the spot. The old tuck rule. And then, of course, they played the juggernaut at that time, St. Louis Rams, where Mike Martz forgot how to run the ball. And he had one of the greatest running backs of all time with Marshall Faulk. It was also brought out into the light that Bill Belichick cheated and was recording the Rams practices. This is one of the reasons why Bill Belichick did not get into the Hall of Fame on the first ballot, because he was a fucking cheater. He was a cheater with football. He cheated on his girlfriends, cheated on his wife. Bill Belichick, when you look up cheater in Webster's, you'll see Bill Belichick's face right next to it. They've been cheating for decades. Not only that, but he was a complete jerk to the media. And the media remembers. They remember if you were an asshole, they're going to make you wait. They're going to make you fucked with us all those years. It's a good thing Greg Popovich had a stroke, because he was a complete dick to the media. And now the media has to be nice to him because, he's only halfway operable. So don't rule out the Patriots. This is what I'm saying. The Seahawks, far superior team. I know you didn't want to get into sports talk. Far superior team. We can talk astrology here, right? With their Gemini quarterback, Sam Darnold, going against New England's Virgo quarterback and Drake May. It is a battle of Mercury. Which version of Mercury will prevail on Sunday? Question mark. The spread is 4.5 points. It's a little low, but I would take the spread in the Patriots. I think it's going to be a much closer game. I think it's going to be a defensive slog. I don't think it's going to be one of these really high scoring affairs. I would take the points. I would take the under and take the Patriots with the under. And the Seahawks can still win the game. But do not underestimate, I'm telling you right now, do not underestimate the symbolic import of the Super Bowl. Just saying. All right. Happy Tuesday back to you, new next pod. We got Misbehaving too. There's Amy and Jackie Delario. Actually had a session with Jackie last week. Delightful person. Absolutely delightful. Ole Kobe. What's happening, Ole? There he is. Mark S. in the house. Belkel. Hi, Belkel. Let's see. Beth Berry's here. Hi, Beth. Belkel says, I saw the Budweiser ad with the eagle in it yesterday. The thumbnail reminded me of that. Interesting. So Bud's got an eagle ad out. I mean, come on. It's Aquarius season. He's saying, hello, America. That's right. Hello, America. I'm your bird. You know, it was supposed to be the Phoenix. They were tossing around the Phoenix as the bird of the United States of America. But they were afraid that it would be, well, too symbolic and a little too esoteric. So they went with the eagle instead. There she is, Janine. Hi, Janine. Good to see Janine. Darlene is here. Hi, Darlene. Neil Smith is with us, and he is sending greetings from the great white north. Gia McCarthy, I know who that is. What's up? Nice light. Hey, Rafi. Miss Nakia. Today is Miss Nakia's birthday. Woohoo! Some interesting people born on this day. Very interesting people. Our star of the day is Notorious. A notorious star of the day. Happy birthday, Miss Nakia. Wishing you a great solar return. Ann Boof, I'm still watching the Sunday show. Good stuff. Thank you. Thank you, Ann Boof. Turns out Jeffrey Epstein had more than a passing interest in astrology. How about that? When you look at that chart where he signed that agreement and had POA for Les Wexner, that chart is fucking immaculate. And not only is it immaculate, it fit Epstein's chart like a freaking glove. A freaking glove. So he must have had some astrological knowledge because only an astrologer could align that signing in that particular way, which gave Jeffrey Epstein maximum power. Like that was a power moment and a power move. Whatever you think of the guy. And astrology is kind of neutral, right? There are some bad people that use astrology, according to us, right? You know, what's the saying? Millionaires use financial advisors. Billionaires use astrologers. There's a lot of truth to that. And Jeffrey Epstein, it's really difficult, the worth of Jeffrey Epstein, whether it was his own money or whether he was just a conduit for all this money to run through. I think it's probably a little bit of both, or maybe a lot of both and a little of the other. But it would not be out of the question that Jeffrey Epstein was at a certain point in time worth billions of dollars. Whether that money was his own or whether he was moving it for other people, right? Because that's kind of what he did. He was a professional money fixer who got into the skin trade. That's what happened. We'll get into more Jeffrey Epstein over on 15 Minutes of Flame. Jay Schaefer is with us. Hi, Jay. Let's see. Bella Kell's back to working from home again. That can be nice. Although every now and then the four walls sort of start to close in, and you got to find a way to get out. Trust me, I know all about that. There she is, a lovely and talented one, driving and listening. Moira NYC, no surprise, 6 more weeks of winter. The old groundhog saw a shadow, huh? Punxsutawney Phil. I love Groundhog Day. Barbara Boots is here, warming up a little bit her part of the world. Maya Rose. Guten Morgen. Lena Winkler's here. Sharon Lewis. I saw a hawk yesterday. I love hawks. One of my spirit animals is the hawk. Hanging laundry. Trinity Productions. Good morning from Axel Andrea. Oh, cool. On our way to co-op bright and early and have state homeschool basketball tournament. Go Axel. Go Axel. Axel. You meet Axel. He's unforgettable. Totally unforgettable. Kelly Boyles is here. Hi, Kelly Boyles. There's a lot of hawk sightings. They're definitely my spirit animal. I love hawks. Soul Travelers here. Dieter is a very German name. Sounds like his last name is too. Dieter Kurtenbach. Let's see. Great move, Robert. Let's see. Sarah E. Kidd, top of the morning to you on this Uranus direct day. There we go. We got eclipses coming up too. We need to take a look at those eclipses. Let's see. Frank. Headache, what's going on, Frank? Omer. I like that. Hi, Omer. What's happening? Let's see. Carol Amore, February feeling. It does look like the script for the Pats to win the push the Patriot narrative, right? I mean, we're back. It seems like we're back again. You know, we're back at Neocon 101. And Donald Trump is doing his best George Bush impression. Really great George Bush impression. With the old regime change stuff. I mean, even going in and getting Maduro, I mean, that was something that George Bush did with Noriega, right? Went to Panama, extracted him. Trump extracts Maduro. I mean, he's in the shadow of George Bush. La Chica Gitana, sunshine is out in Wisconsin. That's what Neil said. Knight of Cups, what's happening? Maria Dawn checking in from Europa. Blood Hair Talk. Hi, Jen. No war, but there will most likely be some agreed upon strikes like before. More than likely. Natural Mother Earth. We got smiles. Georgia Ruth. What's up, Georgia Ruth? Let's see. Jim McCarthy says, I admit it, I'm effing weary of the Zionist dynamic stranglehold. You know, I think it's become fatigue. It has become fatigue. We're starting to get fatigued by it. And I think we need to start having a different conversation. Like America first. Like Trump just okayed a $6 billion weapons deal to Israel. Now, what does that mean, a $6 billion weapons deal? Does that mean that the Israelis are going to pay us $6 billion for weapons? No. It means the United States government is going to purchase $6 million from our arms manufacturers here in this country and send them to Israel. $6 billion. Let's do a little math here. Israel gets $3.8 billion every year. It's part of the deal. Runs out in 2028, by the way. That deal runs out in 2028, which, by the way, is the 80th anniversary of Israel, which coincides with the 80-year curse. Interesting. But what is it, 3.3 billion, something like that. Now you had 6 billion on top of that. That's 9 billion. And how much did we send to Argentina? Was it 4 billion to Argentina so they could undercut American farmers with their Argentinian beef? So we got 9, we got $13 billion. You ever think about what $13 billion would pay for here in this country? $13 billion spent on the United States of America, the people and its infrastructure. Wrap your head around that. Those are just 3 transactions. And there's plenty more. Plenty more. Anyway, I'm probably preaching to the choir here. Karen Wallace chimes in. Same here, McCarthy. Lisa Ann White's here. Scrubbies. It's a good thing to have a dog. Dogs get you up out of your house, make you walk. Cats don't. Cats are like, hey, sit on that couch a little bit longer. Let me let me help you out there. Lorianne from Minnesota. Hi, Lorianne. Good to see you. How can I email Robert? You can email me at robert@robertphoenix.com. It's that simple. robert@robertphoenix.com. Send it on. Send it on, hanging. The turkey. I guess that was another bird they thought about. Let's see. Who else? The Interstellar Cosmic Conversation. What's up? My antipode. Desiree Conrad. She's going to be coming back later on, but good to check in. Nice to see you, Desiree. Let's see. Jeffrey's out there kicking around. Of course he is. I saw a great video yesterday, and everything that I've talked about with Jeffrey Epstein, this guy brings up in the video with a bit more granular detail. The whole thing is just his time in the jail is just a complete and utter shit show. Total shit show. One of the guards who guarded Jeffrey Epstein wasn't even a full-time hire. Like he was like some security contract employee. And the other guard was brand new. Like, here you go. Here's your first job. You get to be on shift when Jeffrey Epstein is here. And apparently they spent most of their time on their cell phones looking up motorcycles and cars and things that they were going to buy with this money they were going to get to look the other way. Zareth the Turtle, what's going on, Steve? Good to see Minglin is here. Sherilyn Pretty Eyes. I like that. Nice name. In New Brunswick. Me Day. All right. Called in today. It's okay. You take care of yourself. Take a me day, Sherilyn. Your nerves are shot. You're probably not the only one. Let's see. Dead Wolf Resistance. What's up, Dead Wolf? Here's a little interesting tidbit. Friend contracted in Saudi Arabia, not able to leave compound, surrounded by ships, no flights out. Ooh. Sounds hot. Baby Rebozo, happy day the music died. Is this the day that Buddy Holly died? Right outside of Mason, Iowa. Let's see, Time Traveler. That's right. Our infrastructure needs to be rebuilt. It will be. It'll be under the Build Back Better, and nobody will have access to it. Right? It'll all be on one universal grid, one universal system, one size fits all. Isn't that their wet dream? You know, the massive supercomputer and AI that controls everything, including your utilities, everything. The car that you drive in. That is beyond fucked up. Like, how is this legal? Infuriating. Well, people can't pay for groceries. The money thing is really a problem. It is getting to be a problem. Just in general, right? I'm sick of the mismanagement. Well, it's only mismanagement on our end. It is not mismanagement on their end. I remember when George W. Bush was president, I remember people saying, oh, he's doing a terrible job. And I said, no, he's not. He's doing a great job. He's just not doing a great job for you. For other people, he's the best fucking president ever. Right? It's all about your perspective. Let's see. Have I left anybody out? Anybody new? No one you know. We need to keep giving away taxpayers' money. I agree. 100%. No one you know. 100%. Andrew Garland. Okay, Andrew, I'll look for your email. Our nerves are fried with all those big solar flares the last few days. I was definitely, I was out of it. I was really out of it yesterday. But I managed to soldier forth and work. And work we shall do right now as we get into the Astro Weather. So I've taken a half an hour just farting around. But I like talking to you guys. It also gives me a chance to riff a little bit. You know what I mean? Some people don't understand that. If you think I'm bad, you should watch 20 minutes of Andy Edwards. You'll be throwing things at your TV and say, get to your point. Get to the damn list. By the way, if you haven't seen Andy Edwards, I highly recommend him. He is, I think, one of the real talents on YouTube. And he talks about music, but he's very funny. Very, very funny. If you like Monty Python-esque kind of humor, Andy Edwards is right up your alley. All right, let's check out what we have here in the stars. We still have the armada of Aquarius. It's like a freaking armada of UFOs coming into our reality here. Like, this is a strange world. I mean, really, when you add all this up, right? It's like the world is fucking strange. And I'm telling you, the biggest driver of the high strange is Jeffrey Epstein right now. Jeffrey freaking Epstein. Why is that? Because Pluto has crossed Jeffrey Epstein's sun. Jeffrey Epstein born at 1 Aquarius. And all these planets marched right across Jeffrey Epstein's sun. Now, if Jeffrey Epstein is alive, and I do believe he's alive, this exposition of astrology becomes even more fleshed out and valid because the dude's alive. And even, okay, so we'll play the if he's not alive game. If he's not alive game, in the not alive game, it's like all this stuff is being released from the grave, right? Like, it is the graveyard of communication, emails, the video with Steve Bannon, 2-hour-long video with Steve Bannon, where Jeffrey Epstein reveals a lot about himself, right? And even more in the emails. Like, if he's not alive, and Pluto is opening up the crypt of Jeffrey Epstein's life. Being that he is, I believe he's alive. Like, when you look at the two faces close up, like the face of Jeffrey Epstein and whoever's face that is, that they're wheeling out of the jail in New York, they don't look the same. They don't look the same at all. Vaster. And even given the fact that, you know, once the spirit leaves the body begins to change. There wasn't enough time for that to happen. That change would happen, you know, at least 6 to 7 hours later. And I'm just speculating on the time, but it's just like too fast. So I believe he's alive. And now all these planets, right, they all cross Jeffrey Epstein's sun. Mercury, Venus, Sun, Vesta, Mars, Pluto. Pluto's still there. So we're getting a big, and what here's what it's doing, right? Is it's making the world even stranger and weirder than we could even comprehend. Like, if you go down deep into the rabbit hole, one of the things that you'll run across is that Jeffrey Epstein was part of a group that built underground cities and that you could actually apply for to be a resident of an underground city. There's also a connection to off-planet travel with Jeffrey Epstein, with the idea that they were sending kids through off. That's how weird it gets. Like, that is some Aquarian sci-fi shit right there. And people are talking about it. And then you have like just your garden variety weird. Like, it comes out that Bill Gates might have gotten a clap from one of Ghislaine's girls and was trying to figure out how to secretly inoculate Melinda. Not to mention this Steve Tisch stuff that came out. And Steve Tisch, another Aquarian, by the way, is going to be at the Super Bowl this weekend. Or is he? Right? Because Roger Goodell is now saying, well, we're going to look into Steve Tisch and the Jeffrey Epstein material. If I was Steve Tisch, I wouldn't show my face around Santa Clara, which is where the Super Bowl is going to be. And I always felt like this, I should save some of this for 15 minutes. I will. But he's having to do a perp walk. Ooh, that's even worse than being convicted of something. Because in the court of public opinion, you're fucked. Right? So I feel like all this Aquarius has moved us into a world of really high strange. And Aquarius to me is a sign that is also very much connected to synchronicities. And they're not always good synchronicities or bad synchronicities. They're synchronicities. And that's the nature of Aquarius, right? It is indiscriminate in a lot of ways, and its power to evoke change and disruption in one's life. Right? Sometimes change and disruption is really good. It's a welcome thing. And sometimes it is change and disruption. It just brings chaos. A lot of people can't handle chaos. If you're here watching this show, you can probably handle chaos. The further Mars gets away from Pluto, getting back to who made the point in chat, I forget now, about the strike. The further Mars gets away from Pluto, I would say the better off we are without engaging in a full-scale, all-out war. That's my take on Mars here. And it's at a 5-degree orb right now. So if nothing happens by the end of the week, Mars is going to be at 10, 11, right? And that's an 8-degree orb. Are we out of harm's way? I think we have to wait until Mars gets into the third decan, which puts it in the Libran decan and squares off against Uranus. And a lot of the California had some earthquakes yesterday, or 2 days ago, and I think we should be paying attention to some of these tremblers because of the square with Uranus coming in. We have Mercury. There's going to be shocking news. I guarantee you. Shocking news with this Mercury-Uranus square. And will it involve the Epstein world as people continue to comb through, 3,000 emails or something like that, and find really disgusting conversations? Epstein is such a weird guy, right? On the one hand, when you see the Bannon interview, he's got that heavy, thick New York accent. He does not sound like a blue blood at all. In fact, his roots are quite humble, actually. His parents were working class. They weren't anybody, if those were his parents. They weren't any, it wasn't like, he went to yeshiva school or anything like that. I think he went to a public school in New York. But even though he's got that kind of a bit of a New York working class sort of tilt to his voice. His demeanor is quite refined, right? And he explains things to Bannon in a very thoughtful way. You can tell this is somebody who has spent a great deal of time thinking about things. And so he comes off, and I think this is the, how would I say this? The irony paradox of Jeffrey Epstein. He comes off in a way that sounds very credible. And I think there was the public persona of Jeffrey Epstein that was very credible and didn't really display some of the high strange and the more, how should we say this, seedy qualities that Jeffrey Epstein had. But then that's the other side of Jeffrey Epstein, is that it's like the underbelly of Epstein is, pretty scuzzy, actually. And you put those two things together and you have a picture of a fairly complex person. Anyway, bringing it back to the astrology, it just feels like now all these planets are starting to line up and square with Uranus, and the news from here on out, shocking, 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 right? And even the Venus-Uranus square coming in, it's like, oh my God, you had a relationship with this person, right? And the revelation of relationship in the Venus-Uranus square is also shocking in and of itself. And I don't think any relationship is immune from that. So honesty is the best policy. And I think it's not always easy for many of us to wrap our arms around it. But with the Venus-Uranus square, especially with Venus coming up closer and closer to Uranus, shocking details emerge. We have the sun also coming in. When I see this, it's like people are up to their freaking eyeballs. And this is, if we really step back just for a second and just survey the landscape, let's just take a second to do that. We'll survey the landscape and then we'll get into the star of the day and we'll wrap this thing up. But I think this is the most salient point I can make today. Over here, we have Erica Kirk, TPUSA, Charlie Kirk. And it hasn't been adjudicated, tried, settled, whatever word you want to use. That shit is incomplete. And not only is it incomplete, it is weird. And the things that are coming out about TPUSA and the donors and Erica Kirk's the recording of her basically congratulating everybody on what a great job they did at Charlie's memorial and how much merch they moved is fucking weird. Right? You just look, it's like, it is, TPUSA went from being this voter conversion engine that was unleashed on college campuses, with Charlie Kirk being this crusader. He was Crusader Rabbit. And it went from that in a high-powered organization, getting young people to start thinking conservatively and ultimately vote for Trump. And in most circles, respected. Like, there was something kind of unimpeachable about Charlie Kirk. He never really wavered on his position, which made his ability to argue and change my mind so effective until theoretically the end, when he had had enough of these people pushing him around and beginning to connect the dots with what was happening with Israel. And then all of a sudden, Charlie became an expendable asset, right? But it still is in high strange territory. Like, that's still out there. And TPUSA is supposed to be running an alternate halftime show in response to Bad Bunny, which is more weird, high strange. Bad Bunny his entire set will be sung in Spanish. And this is an American event. And of course, Bad Bunny is known for cross-dressing and, being gender fluid. And, this is the NFL's great gift to the world. More high strange, right? Like, you're going to see the most woke fucking Super Bowl you've ever seen in your life. So there's that. Then there's the Epstein stuff, which is just, it's like just a garden of mushrooms that are sprouting, right, overnight and everywhere. Like, that's happening. Then you've got this ongoing drama with Iran, and you have Bibi Netanyahu, and he's rattling his saber, right? And he's basically, barking at Trump. And who knows what kind of extortion. Like, they're like flexing on Trump with this whole Epstein stuff. Then you've got ICE in Minneapolis and whatever the shootings were, and like a big what the fuck, right? Like, it's the beginning of a civil war. There's that going on. Oh, can we pile a little bit more on? Oh, yeah. Let's just go into a country and remove their leader. Let's throw that into the mix. We'll do that as well. Just step back and look at all this. Look at all of it. And where in any of these things, with maybe the exception of ICE in removing people. By the way, Obama was more effective at removing illegals than Trump has been. That's on the record. People are they're sitting back and going, how is this making our world any better? Inflation is up, but we got shrinkflation. We're paying more for the same products that are smaller. Our insurance is going through the freaking roof. Electrical bills, thank you. Data centers are going through the roof, right? People can't afford to buy a house. The American dream for young people is not a dream. It's an illusion. All these things are happening, and people, this is the Aquarian side of all this. People are wiping the sleep from their eyes, and they're waking up, and they're like, what the fuck? Has the world always been like this? Has it always been like this, and I've just been asleep? Or are we in a new level of a degraded reality? I think it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both. While we were sleeping, and if you go back to Sunday night show, it's the 90s. Like, we're taking a nap in the 90s. And this is when all the corruption really comes into play. Of course, the Clintons are leading the charge, right? All the corruption comes into play. A lot of it's initiated by George H.W. Bush in Gulf War I. Yep. And that's because Bush's business interests were running out of money and they needed oil. Hello, Southern Iraq. There's more to it than that, but that's a big reason why. And this is the net effect of all this Aquarius. People are waking up and they're realizing we live in a strange fucking world. And then usually what happens is that people try to double and triple down on normalcy. And it's like, sorry, it's not going to work. It is not going to work. Speaking of not normal, let's talk about our True Hemp Science star of the day. I'm going to skip the banner because we are pressed for time. And so let me just get a plug in for True Hemp Science, who is the sponsor of this part of the show. Had a great little chat with one of my favorite people on Sunday night after Sunday night show, and they were extolling the virtues of True Hemp Science before they go to sleep at night. So go to their website, spend $100 or more, type in 15MINS, and you'll get a goodie bag on top of your order. $150 or more gets you free shipping. TrueHempScience.com, your one-stop shop for all things CBD. All right, let's talk about Kenneth Anger. Now, this is Kenneth Anger looking respectable to the world. Now, Kenneth Anger normally did not look this respectable. Kenneth Anger is one of the strangest figures in sort of modern American pop occult history. To say that he was a filmmaker would be generous. If you look at his chart, he's got a really fucked up chart. Like if he was my client, it'd be difficult for me to have some redeeming things to say about this chart. I'm just telling you right now. And there are people who would say that Kenneth Anger was an irredeemable person. So he lived in LA. He was born in Santa Monica in 1927. And he was coddled by his mother and his grandmother, and wound up living with his grandmother because she spoiled the shit out of him and thought he was a little genius. And Kenneth Anger started to make movies when he was young. And by the time he was in his late teens, he had made a short film called Fireworks. And it was a homoerotic fantasy that indulged in occult and esoteric symbolism. And it was a short film and it was banned. Now, if you go into his third house, he's a freak, right? He's got Sun, Mercury, Moon, and they're all conjunct in the third house. It's Gemini's house. And he was known for not being able to really finish anything, except for this book, which sold 2 million copies, by the way. 2 million copies. And he had Hollywood Babylon 2, but he was facing the specter of lawsuits with that. He barely got out of lawsuits with this book. And this is a book that talks about the licentious nature of Hollywood. There's Jane Mansfield. Kenneth Anger would know some of this stuff, right? He lived with Marjorie Cameron, who was Jack Parsons' wife, right? He lived with her. In fact, she starred in one of his little movies. And Kenneth Anger was kind of like the Malcolm McDowell of his day. He would get money. He got like 15,000 pounds from the English government at one point in time. He showed them like a 3-minute clip of a movie he did. And like, oh yeah, we'll give you more money for that. He got money from the Ford Foundation. He got money from, this arts foundation in Paris, the equivalent like 15, and he never really finished anything. Of course, he was the director of Lucifer Rising, right? Like he is an Aquarian through and through, but he's also not just an Aquarian. When you get into the third house and you get into Aquarius third house material, there's a little kink going on there, right? There is some kink going on. And Kenneth Anger was definitely kinky, right? And I suppose if there was a redeeming quality about his chart, it's the Venus Jupiter conjunction in Pisces, where it's like anything goes. Like anything goes. Any kind of relationship, any kind of sexual expression goes. Like there's an openness in that third house. But he's also quite rebellious, right? He's got a Sun Mars square. He's got Mars and Taurus in the sixth house. And you would think that he works hard, but he doesn't. I mean, he works hard at not finishing anything. He's known mostly for movies that are around 30 minutes long. And he's got that Mars Neptune square, and that's a dissipation of energy. And he's a very, very unusual character. He was friends with Anton LaVey, Aleister Crowley, right? He lived with Marjorie Cameron. I mean, when you look up like American occultist, you would see Kenneth Anger's name. He did this movie called, I believe, what is it, My Demon Lover, which had Marianne Faithfull. Mick Jagger was in it. Like he went to Europe and he did this film with Mick Jagger and Marianne Faithfull, and he wanted Mick Jagger to play Lucifer in the movie Lucifer Rising. The original concept for Lucifer Rising was this boy who was the son of the guy who was in charge of the place in whatchamacallit, Laurel Canyon. I had to sort out my canyons. Topanga, Laurel. And this boy was like 4 or 5 years old. He was supposed to be the star of Lucifer Rising. And he dies under very strange circumstances. He's not good. So then Kenneth Anger's fallback is this guy named Bobby Beausoleil, who some of you know was a member of the Manson family. So Bobby Beausoleil comes in and is the stand-in for this boy in Lucifer Rising. The movie was supposed to be about an adolescent who comes into, and this is all very third house stuff, right? There's a really puerile quality to Kenneth Anger. Like he never grows up. And it's supposed to be this idea that as you come into adolescence and you come into rebellion, the Luciferic power is at its height, right? This was his occult deduction. And so eventually he winds up making Lucifer Rising. And he was going to have the kind of Jimmy Page do the score for it. And Jimmy Page flew him over to Loch Ness and they hung out. But then he got into a beef with Jimmy Page's girlfriend at the time. And she wound up convincing Jimmy to kick him out of his Aleister Crowley digs on Loch Ness, right? And so Jimmy Page is out of the picture, and he doesn't finish the score. What he does is he gets Bobby Beausoleil, who's in prison, and apparently has access to a recording studio in prison, to do the soundtrack for the movie. He's a very, very odd man. And not just odd, but he is subversive. Absolutely subversive. And I would not say in a good, I think sometimes there can be good subversive. He's not good subversive. One of his best friends was Alfred Kinsey, right? Kinsey Report guy. They were buddies. And Kinsey was a freak. That goes to show you how much, and I think he even made some films for Kinsey. So in terms of the American story, Kenneth Anger's influence, while not far-reaching cinematically, certainly is pronounced in the realm of sexuality and the Kinsey report and the normalization of kink in this country, which is what the Kinsey report is all about. And it's all down in his third house, right? It's all Gemini. It's like there is no good, there is no evil, right? There is no right, there is no wrong. And in the space of moral ambiguity, that's where chaos magic and the assertion of will in the thelemic world can take place. That's Kenneth Anger. And I can go on about this chart, but I'm out of time. Anyway, that's your star of the day. And not necessarily a role model. If you're an independent filmmaker, I think at the very least you liked his maverick spirit. And that's about it. All right, I'm out of here. Thanks for being here. We'll be over on 15 Minutes of Flame on Rumble, talking Epstein. And we'll be talking Epstein for the next 3 days. So we're just getting started. And thanks for being here. Enjoy your day. Chatari, you're the best. Mods, thanks for being here. And God bless you, one and all. Bye for now.